Slim crowd tonight. Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, October 1st, 2025 City Commission meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and we'll convene. So as you notice, we're not a full house tonight. There's a skeleton crew, but you know, we've got quality over quantity tonight. So there you go. Anyway, would you do the roll call, please?
Sure. Commissioner Adam Marl and Commissioner Scott Wilson are excused tonight. Commissioner Mike Mitchell.
Here.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Here.
And Mayor Denise McGriff.
Present. Would you all join me as you are able in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Whoops. Kicking my bag on the table. Anyway, tonight on our agenda, we have two proclamations under our ceremonies and proclamations item. And I will read that, and then I will call our friends and colleagues from who are in the audience tonight joining us again to come forward. So it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and as I said last year, that I was hoping we wouldn't have to have this type of a proclamation, but until we are able to master this, we will unfortunately still be able to, we still need to call attention to it. So whereas domestic violence is a serious crime in Clackamas County that affects people of all races, ages, gender, and income levels, and whereas family is the foundation of a safe and healthy community, and it is the goal of Clackamas County for our communities to be safe, and whereas more than 16 million people in the United States suffer from intimate partner abuse per year in the United States, and whereas 32 people experience intimate partner violence in the United States every minute, and whereas 30.3% of families involved in the Department of Human Services Child Welfare Department had domestic violence as a component of their case in 2024, and whereas 1,106 victims of domestic violence requested a protective order in Clackamas County in 2024, whereas 812 victims assessed wraparound services for the first time at a Safe Place Family Justice Center for a total of 3,400 visits in 2024, and whereas victims should have help to find the compassion, comfort, and healing they need, and abusers should be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law, and whereas only a coordinated community effort will put a stop to this serious crime, and whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month provides an excellent opportunity for people to learn more about preventing domestic violence and to show support for the numerous organizations and individuals who provide critical advisory services and assistance to victims. And now therefore, I, Denise C. McGriff, Mayor of the City of Oregon City, and the City Commission do hereby proclaim October 2025 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and encourage all citizens of the county to join in this observance and to learn more about what they can do to help end domestic violence both individually and collectively. And would you like to come up? Only when the green light is on. There you go. And you can move it closer, it moves around on the table.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Good evening. I'm April Everest, Program Coordinator for A Safe Place Family Justice Center, and we'd like to thank you, Mayor McGriff, and members of the Commission for having us over the last few years and for proclaiming October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Each year, this month offers a powerful opportunity to honor the strength and resilience of survivors, while also recognizing the continued work required to ensure safety, healing, and justice for all who are impacted. Domestic Violence Awareness Month reflects our community's shared commitment to creating safe, inclusive spaces and to standing together to break the silence that too often surrounds domestic violence. This year, we joined the national movement in embracing the theme, "With Survivors Always." This theme underscores the importance of true partnership, standing with survivors not just in word, but in action. It reminds us that safety, support, and solidarity must remain at the center of our work. It is both a tribute and a call to action for all who are committed to advocating for the rights and needs of survivors. We are deeply grateful for your role in this movement. Together, we are not only raising awareness, we are rewriting the story, a story rooted in safety, dignity, and hope for everyone. Additionally, our Domestic Violence Awareness Month work group through ASA Place has planned a full month of awareness activities. I'd be happy to highlight a few community-related events for your viewers, if you'd like.
Please.
Okay. Tonight, our ASA Place has partnered once again with Oregon City Public Works to stream purple lights on the Oregon City Municipal Elevator all month long to bring awareness to family violence. Additionally, the community will have access to information on how to connect with local domestic violence resources and providers. Then on October 2nd and also on October 14th, we have 2 more proclamations scheduled, starting with the Board of Clackamas County Commissioners for tomorrow morning. And on the 14th, Gladstone City Council will also have an Awareness Month proclamation at their general meeting in the evening. Then later in the month, on the 23rd, this is known nationally as Purple Thursday, where individuals and organizations can show support for survivors by wearing purple. And lastly, on this same day, on the 23rd, our collaborative partner, Clackamas Women's Services, is having a Dine Out fundraising event where locally they have teamed up with Oregon City Brewing Company, and proceeds from sales on the 23rd will go to benefit their agency.
And what day of the week is that?
That's on a Thursday.
Thursday?
Again, we'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I still have my purple ribbon that is on at least one or more of my jackets from last year.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. And Jacob, do you have a proclamation to give to them? Signed one?
Yes.
Also like to just acknowledge the fact that our district attorney, John Wentworth, has been very instrumental in moving some of these programs forward, and we appreciate all of his work and his coordination with the Oregon City Police Department and our staff. So we'll thank him for that as well. So our second proclamation is Indigenous Peoples Day. And whereas the City of Oregon City recognizes that Indigenous people of the lands that would later become known as the Americas have occupied these lands since time immemorial. And the city honors the fact that the City of Oregon City is built upon the traditional homelands of the Clackamas, Cascades, and Tumwater bands of the Chinooks, the Tualatin, Pudding River bands of the Kalapuya, and the Northern Molalla peoples, and recognizes the inherent sovereignty of the 9 federally recognized tribal nations in the state of Oregon and all Indigenous peoples everywhere. And whereas the city values the many contributions made to our community through Indigenous peoples' knowledge, labor, technology, science, philosophy, arts, and the deep cultural connection that has subsequently shaped the character of the City of Oregon City. The city has a whereas the city has a responsibility to oppose the systematic racism and colonialization towards Indigenous people in the United States, which perpetuates high rates of poverty and income inequality, exacerbating disproportionate health, education, and social crises. And whereas Indigenous Peoples Day was first proposed in 1977 by a delegation of Native nations to the United Nations sponsored International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in the Americas, and whereas the city is committed to protecting and advocating for justice, human rights, and the dignity of all people who live and work in, and vows Oregon City to uphold the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, called the Declaration, endorsed by the United States on December 16th, 2010. And whereas the Declaration recognizes the rights of Indigenous peoples to the dignity and diversity of their cultures, traditions, histories, aspirations, which shall be appropriately reflected in education and public information, and places an obligation in the states to take effective measures in consultation and cooperation with the Indigenous peoples concerned to combat prejudice and eliminate discrimination, and to promote tolerance, understanding, and good relations among Indigenous people and all other segments of society. And now, therefore, I, Denise C. McGriff, Mayor of the City of Oregon City, and the City Commission do proclaim October 13th, 2025 as Indigenous Peoples' Day, and ask the citizens of Oregon City to utilize this day as an opportunity to reflect on the ongoing struggles of Indigenous people of this land and to celebrate the thriving cultures and values of Indigenous people in our region, and to stand in solidarity with Indigenous peoples everywhere, encourage other businesses, organizations, and public institutions to recognize Indigenous Peoples' Day on the second Monday in October, and commit to continuous efforts to promote the well-being and the growth of Oregon City's Indigenous community. And I believe that Clackamas Community College will be having a celebration again this year at the college near the Environmental Learning Center. And I believe that is on the 13th, if I'm not correct. I don't have my calendar in front of me. So thank you for that.
Forgot the last line.
And there's one more line. Oh, and in the witness thereof, yes. Well, I'm going to sign it. I've already signed it. So in witness thereof, I have already signed this proclamation as of the first day of October 2025, and I've just signed both of them already. All right. So let's move on to item number 4. We have one public comment, and that is Seth Henderson. And would you please come forward? And this item is for items that are not currently on the current City Commission agenda.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Seth Henderson, and my contact information is on the card. Here this evening to offer updates on the courthouse as we move forward. So we now have an executed disposition and development agreement that has been recorded. Commissioner Marl has made some comments in the last month or two about developers that have moved forward with projects and not properly communicated with the city. Hoping to avoid that situation, I'm offering to provide updates as you deem appropriate. Just let me know what the frequency is and what you want the content to be, and I will show up and provide it. Thank you for your time.
Commissioners, do you have any suggestions for how often? Mr. Mitchell.
Well, I don't know that it has to be a regular schedule, but as milestones come and go, or as the timing, maybe a general overview of the timing that you have in mind, and then, provide updates if that slips one direction or the other. But I think just a real general overview of the timing.
Are you asking for that now, or?
Not necessarily.
You could come back.
Yeah. Probably, bring it back.
Do you want me to coordinate with staff regarding this,
Sure,
or just
that's
show
fine.
up?
That'd be great.
Okay.
We could, instead of having it be under this particular item, we could make it a separate item that we could have on the agenda. So sometimes we have presentations, and that's kind of where that could be. I think that would be more appropriate in the future. I think I agree with you as often as we need. I've had some suggestions from some community members, many community members about, some of the items on the building, and, and you and I can talk as well. There was a request by someone whether or not they'd be able to get a commemorative brick similar to what we did with the library. Now, I want to make it very clear that when the library was being expanded, they only took material from that back wall. So there wasn't other bricks or anything that were missing from the building. It was only from that area. And there were some bricks that were provided to some community members, and I myself have one. So, but the building's still there. So there's stuff like that. People, as you know, I get a lot of very interesting questions, some of which I can answer, and others it's like I have to scratch my head, and then I have to call staff, and they're like, okay. But yes.
Yeah, Mount Pleasant was the same way.
Yes.
Mount Pleasant bricks too.
Yes. So, people tend to contact the people that they know of or they know. And so, I get the laundry list of, do you know about
Two Rivers Neighborhood Association on the 22nd will be there. I think
Where?
Elks Lodge.
Oh, I mean, they're going to be,
Their
you mean their
neighborhood
regular
association
meeting?
monthly meeting,
Oh, okay.
they've asked us
You were saying they were going to be
show.
there, and I said be here or there or somewhere else?
No, Two Rivers Neighborhood Association has asked us to go to their next meeting. DOCA's next social, I think, is the 27th. They've asked us to go and answer questions. NRC, HRB, PRAC will be reaching out to all of these entities that have.
But we can also invite them here so you can do one-stop shopping.
Whatever's easiest. To some degree, we're going to need input. Like, for instance, Liberty Plaza will want PRAC to actually give us some ideas on.
I would like you to come talk to us about that first before you go to them.
Okay.
We have some, obviously, you know, that was one of the things I was advocating for, and it's something that's very important to this commission. We had numerous discussions about it, so we can refer it back to PRAC, but I think in this case, I would like to humbly ask if you would chat with us about it.
Okay, we'll come to you first, and you can direct us to the appropriate
I'll take the wrath
parties.
of the chair of the PRAC on that one, so I'll take that one on.
Okay,
I'll take that.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we don't have any other citizen comments, so let's move on to the adoption of the agenda, item number 6, and then consent agenda, item number 7. I just will say for the record that I had a question regarding the Caring Court, and I was able to get the answer so that it will be here until the new facility is built, and then it will move there, because I was concerned about the name being confused with something that might not be there. So got that answered. So do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? And I also didn't see anything in the meeting minutes, but it was nice to go down memory lane because Commissioner O'Donnell still was on that particular one.
So moved. I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt the consent agenda. Let's have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Mike Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Aye.
Mayor Denise McGriff.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right. So under item number 8, we have one public hearing tonight, and this is not a land use hearing, so I don't have to do the record reading. It is a public hearing and the first reading of ordinance number 25-1012, vacating an unimproved right-of-way located between 19530 South Central Point Road, otherwise known as Lot 1 of Filbert Orchard, recorded plat number 1744, and Tract B in Ed's Orchard, recorded plat number 4503. So I will call for the staff report, and then we will open the public hearing. So who's doing that? This is what we say. Josh Wheeler, come on
Josh
down.
come up, but this was before the commission on September 3rd. The city commission adopted resolution number 2529, initiating the vacation process, and scheduled this public hearing for the first reading of ordinance number 251012 in accordance with ORS 271230. Public notice has been provided. At that time, we did walk through the proposal and the recommendation for why we're recommending approval of the vacation of the right-of-way. So I guess if there's other questions, or if you'd like more additional information, either myself or Mr. Wheeler can answer those.
Well, I appreciate the fact that there was a map, so it's real super clear on Exhibit B. So, but I guess for the record then, this lot, this track would be attached to, well, there's no lot number there, but it's the large parcel that's got Filbert Orchard across the front of it. It's to my right on the map. There's Track B, the right of way, and then the lot, and that would be adjoined to that lot.
That is correct. The plat of subdivision deemed that, and the subdivision CC&Rs deemed that when this area is vacated, the land as well as Tract B all goes to the lot in question.
And I unfortunately did not get to go by there, so is this a vacant lot, or is there a house on it?
There's a house on it.
Okay. Because I noticed the address was not corresponding to who the owner is. I thought, well, maybe that's why they were doing it, because they live there, but,
Yeah.
oh well.
I mean, if you want to know the reason behind it, is that the the applicant bought the property and they need to be served by public sewer because their septic is in disrepair. They have no access to sewer because this right-of-way is in the way. And so this was a way to get them public sewer, to vacate that. It also gets the property into the city, which they didn't have an issue with. And it kind of cleans everything up that was started when that subdivision got platted.
Any other questions of staff before I open the public hearing? Okay. I'm going to open the public hearing, and I see no comment cards from anyone. Did we receive any correspondence whatsoever? Did you get any comments from anybody? Okay, well, we're all good. Close the public hearing. Now we'll turn to deliberations for the commission.
I'll move to approve first reading of ordinance number 25-1012.
Second.
Ordinance number 25-1012, an ordinance of the City of Oregon City vacating unimproved public right-of-way located between 19530 South Central Point Road, Lot 1, Filbert Orchard, recorded plat number 1744, and Tract B, Ed's Orchard, recorded plat number 4503.
Commissioner Mike Mitchell,
Aye.
Commissioner Rocky Smith,
Aye.
and Mayor Denise McGriff.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, so we'll have the second reading at our next meeting on the 15th. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Josh. All right, let's move on to item number 9, general business. Monthly stormwater fee exemption request for the Blue at Abernathy Creek.
Thank you. So this was presented at the last commission meeting. The commissioners asked for some additional information that we have brought back tonight. Essentially, the municipal code allows for when all of the stormwater on a site when none of the stormwater on a site is entering a public facility, a public storm swale, a public storm pipe, a storm pond, and utilizing the system, there's a process to be exempt from the stormwater fees. In the case for this property, the city agrees that the site is being drained directly into Abernathy Creek. It is not entering the public system in any way. The city has approved a reimbursement, the exemption back to the date that the request for the exemption was filed. The owners have asked that the exemption be applied to the date of purchase, which would include a reimbursement or of fees that have been paid between the date of purchase and the date of application to request the exemption. Attached to the staff report is the follow-up questions memo that was put together to try to address the questions raised by the commission. One addresses utility billing. In most cases with utility billing, because it's a monthly charge, if there's an undercharge or an overage because of a bad meter read, or let's say you couldn't get to the meter box for some reason, it usually gets cleaned up because it's a running total on the next accurate read. It's pretty rare. We don't see too many instances where we're not billing somebody or we forgot to bill somebody. But in the instance, if that were to occur, the billing correction, either to the plus or the minus, would go back to the date of the error, if it can be determined, or to 6 months. So if you can't determine when something happened, you go back 6 months maximum. Once again, I think this is a little bit different, an exemption request from a billing dispute. The next one was Living Hope Church. So in that case, this is back in 2022, the Public Works Director of the city agreed to do a look back of 30 months, and that was based on the initial inquiry application to the city, was originally denied for lack of information. A resubmittal was made at a later date, and so the Public Works Director approved going back to that initial contact with the city. That was brought to the City Commission, and the City Commission did vote to go all the way back to 2008 in that case, so exceeding the 30 months. So like we talked about last time, there's not a lot of, I think this is something we would probably, separate issue, bring back at a later date of kind of defining this like we do for other fees that we do have in the city in system development charges. And then the history for Abernethy Road property. I think it's been owned by the county for a long time.
You're saying the 1900s?
That was verbally what the county said. We tried to go back and look at aerials, photography of the area. We got back to prior to 1970, there were buildings on the property, so they've been there quite a while.
I tried to look to see whether there was anything on some later Sanborns, because I know we had Sanborns from 1900, and I think then they jump into the 20s. I didn't see anything on the 1900 map, but I couldn't get into the next one, so.
So really, I think the options that we've identified, we've approved it back to the date of the initial submission.
Is that option one?
Yes, that's concur with what we've done so far.
Okay.
The second option would be to approve the owner's request to go back to the date they purchased it. Third option would be somewhere in between when they purchased it and when the application was submitted.
Any comments, gentlemen?
I've got a question on the memorandum. Thank you for doing that, by the way, and covering the questions, but I'm a little confused. I'm probably reading something wrong. Where am I here? Under the utility billing section, it's kind of almost at the bottom of the first page of the memo.
Okay.
It says, if the date of the error can be established, the undercharge or overcharge shall be computed back to such date.
Right.
If no date can be established, utility shall refund or rebill for 6 months of usage. But then, sorry, I lost my place. The next sentence, an adjustment shall be made for the entire period of the overbilling up to 6 months preceding the discovery. So I'm confused. One of them, it says going back to the date, if the date can be determined, and then it says up to 6 months.
It says if no date can be established.
No.
I was reading the second sentence.
Okay, well, then the next sentence says an adjustment shall be made for the entire period of the overbilling up to 6 months. So I'm getting two different things.
It feels like that's a run-on of the preceding sentence. It's almost like it's restating it. So
It's just saying it differently.
I think we have two options, right? If the date of the error can be established, the undercharge or overcharge shall be computed back to such date. So if we know the date, we go back to that date.
Okay.
If no date can be established, the utility shall refund or rebill for 6 months of usage. An adjustment shall be made for the entire period of the overbillings up to 6 months preceding the discovery of the billing error. I guess I understand what you're saying. I think it feels like if we can establish the date, we reimburse to the date. If we can't, we go back 6 months. But I agree, that seems like there's two sentences there that it seems,
And we know
it's almost like there should be an A and a B.
Yeah.
I don't think it's saying if we discovered it was 2 years ago, we're only going to go back 6 months.
Okay.
I don't think that's what that says.
Okay. And in this case, we know the date.
We know the date of purchase, which would be the date when the billing started.
Right. And it shouldn't have been billed.
No, it should have been billed because no property owner came and went through the process to remove the property and do the work to determine that their stormwater wasn't entering our system. The onus on an exemption is to the property owner to demonstrate to the city that the water is not utilizing our system. Now,
Which they did.
Which they did. So now the decision is, how far back do we go?
Well, this says if the date can be established, it's computed back to,
Right, I guess, well, I'm just saying, the commission can interpret it however, we would look at a billing dispute, an undercharge, an overcharge, different than you need to take an affirmative action to demonstrate that your water is not going into our system. So now, to me, an exemption is different than a billing error. But the commission could certainly say, here's your policy as it relates to billing errors. We should apply that in the case of someone coming in and demonstrating where stormwater is going. We just historically have not done that. So that's,
okay.
I'm drawing a distinction, because the exemption process doesn't give us direction on how far back to go.
Yeah.
The billing for utility bills does.
Right.
The system development charges has a different look back time. The pavement maintenance utility fee has a different look back time. That's where I'm saying that there's just, some sections have specificity, the exemption one doesn't. And so we're not really sure where to go to.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I've looked at this and I don't support, I support option number one from the date that we were notified, because we know what we don't know. We can't use a crystal ball to say, oh, we should have known that back in '06, we should have not been billing you because we know where these things, there's, again, as I try to explain to people, as the oldest city in the state, we don't know where everything is, and we can only know what we know. And that's all, that's really all we can do. My biggest concern about this and other properties like this is, when are we going to gain compliance? Because I am not thrilled about the fact that we have a fish-bearing stream, that stuff is just, and that property still has a lot of trucks and stuff on it, and it's all going into Abernathy Creek, and I don't think that's helping Abernathy Creek. And I know we can't make them, but I don't know, maybe can DEQ make these property owners, not just this one, can they require that they fix this? I mean, this is not
I'm
right.
not sure that there's anything that has to be fixed,
Well, it shouldn't be dumping in without being treated.
but it complied when we have not looked into this, so I don't
I
want to
know,
get
I'm
too
just-
far, right?
I'm
But
just
we
making-
just don't go back, like.
I know.
We do make certain assumptions that when things are built, they're built to comply with the code at the time,
Right, yes.
right?
And-
And when if somebody comes in for redevelopment, right,
Then
we
I-
look at the whole site again, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know what is actually happening on that site.
I know, and
because it hasn't
that's
come in.
part of the problem.
But we do have to make the assumption that when it was constructed, it was compliant with what the standard was at the time.
Or we have no idea if there were even any standards at that time.
But I
So,
understand.
I mean, I'm not
That's how
disputing it.
that's how development works, though.
Yeah, I know. And we don't even know if that was even in the city when the county built it, you know?
Yeah.
It might not have been in the city, so they did whatever, I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's just a lot of unknowns that we don't know about. So, any other comments, gentlemen? Do we have a motion of some sort? We have three options here. I can't make the motion, otherwise I would.
No. I wasn't here for the last meeting. I got filled in with my meeting with the city manager in general.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know everything I need to know about it, but,
We don't know everything either, so.
This is pretty true. When was the purchase date? I mean, how long?
They said November, original request, well, they did November 22nd was their original request date. Apparently, they bought the property on June 6, 2023. And I don't feel comfortable going back to that date because they didn't even know back then. So who knows what everybody did for their own due diligence. And we don't know what the county told them or what the county didn't tell them. County probably didn't even know either. It's my suspicion.
So we would be consistent in saying we're going back to the date we were notified.
Right,
That's what we did.
with the other.
Well,
yeah.
no, the other one with Living Hope Church, we went back to 2008. The
That's
date
when-
they acquired it.
That's when, yeah, but they went, that's also when they inquired about it.
No,
No,
no. They inquired about it 30 months before. That's where Mr. Lewis came up with the 30
We
months.
had
yes.
to go.
He went back to their original, but this commission at the time voted to go all the way back to the purchase.
Correct.
So if, in my
I
mind,
think
if
I
we
remember
consider
that.
this,
yeah, I remember that.
if we consider this to be a billing error, the precedent is
That
going
was
all the
why
way
your
back.
question. Okay, all right. Because that's
If we
what it
can-
was.
if-
It was, we thought,
I don't think
I
it was a
remember in the
billing error.
church, we did think it was a billing error and, right? I mean, that's how we got to that decision, if my memory serves right.
I don't think this is, I don't,
You don't think,
well, I don't think this is a billing error. I think this is,
well, no, I'm not saying it is.
Yeah.
But that was our rationale for
Right.
the,
and I don't think it's, that's what I said last time. I don't think this is quite the same thing. It's similar,
Right.
but it's not the same. It's not quite the
I
same.
guess all I'm saying is we need to do the same thing for the same things.
Yeah, well, like I said, yeah,
Right?
I don't think they're the
That may
same
not be
thing.
the same thing as the past, but if we do this with this one, then we're assuming in the same
Well-
circumstances in the future, we do the same thing.
Well, the city's going to come back with something that is going
To
be.
change.
To
To fix it,
clarify it,
to clarify.
so that we don't end up in this situation, so.
I would agree. I think there's some clarification. I think there's, and we talked about earlier, even if you're if you're not utilizing the system, you still are. You still have impacts, whether it's
Exactly.
our permitting requirements for TMDL loads or water temperature or erosion. Maybe it's 5%, maybe it's 10%. I don't know what, but to think that there's no impact in today's world,
Yeah,
in
there's
today's
an
permitting
impact.
requirements, probably isn't consistent with the way our code is written right now. But then, so you got that component, but then you also have, let's just agree of a look back. If it's whatever, when you bought it, when you found it, when you submitted, I mean, I don't have a strong opinion. It's just putting something in code would alleviate.
Right.
But the
At
church
this
was,
happening.
the church was hooked up. There's just, again, they were already connected. This was a billing.
Yeah.
This was more of a billing error.
No.
And when they connected, they
No, I
realized that
believe
this
the church was not
original
utilizing our system.
system, right. And now they are, but
So it's-
anyway,
So it's the exact same situation in terms of they're not utilizing our system, so they received an exemption. We approved it back to 30 months. The commission approved it back to 2008. So if in same, the commission would approve this back to the date of purchase, which would be consistent with what the previous commission did with Living Hope Church.
yeah.
The other alternative is to go back to the date of submittal, which is what staff did in both situations.
Right. Okay, well, let's have a motion of some sort.
Before we do,
Sure.
I've lost it now, but wasn't there something in here, there was some information from Mr. Kabizman related to,
There was, on the very top of the second page, City Attorney Kabizan stated the contractual law engagements have a 6-year statute of limitations. There was a question whether a utility bill is a contract. The city commission ended up voting 401 abstain to reimburse the look back to 2008. So is that what you're referring to?
yeah,
Yeah.
I still can't find it.
It's on the follow-up
page 3.
questions. Oh, sorry, it's
Follow-up questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
top of page 3, not 2.
Okay, thank
sorry.
you. Got it.
right
I got it.
there.
I got
You
it.
got it? Yeah.
I got it. 6, okay.
Yeah. I don't think a utility bill is a contract, but what the hell?
What page is it?
Page 3 of the memo.
I've got a procedural question for the city attorney.
Yes.
We're, in effect, whatever we decide is going to kind of set a precedent, right? And we're going to try to clean up the code to match that?
Maybe, I think the question of what we clean up the code to might be a different inquiry because we're asking a policy question at that point about what we want the regulation to be.
Moving forward.
I think that this is what we could call a quasi-judicial kind of question, where we're just applying the facts on this particular property. And although we do want to have consistency in our city decisions so that they can be relied on, I don't look at this as precedent setting, and I certainly wouldn't look at it as controlling of what you set the policy to be when you adopt code. When we come back and give you options and say, pros and cons, costs and losses, all of that jazz, we haven't done that here yet.
But what you decide here doesn't mean that the code is going to be this.
Right. Or that
Okay, and
the next person coming down the road is
I
going
mean,
to say.
we change municipal code all the time.
Exactly.
And that kind of alleviates my concern, because my concern is, if we have a split decision vote tonight, we've got a minority of the entire commission, and the other two gentlemen haven't had an opportunity to weigh in, which concerns me a little bit, if it was really setting a precedent like that. But if it's not, and we're just looking at this one case, we can go ahead tonight.
I think if we got another one in next month and we hadn't changed the code,
Before that, right.
we would probably say, okay, now we know what the,
Right.
let's just
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
we went back to the date of purchase, right? It'd be like, okay, now we have two of them that go back to the date of purchase. We'd feel pretty comfortable going, okay, right now this is the interpretation.
Right.
Hoping it's not back like 1940, but
Right.
you could, when you do change the code though, then it would be a decision on what's the appropriate
And I'm
look back.
comfortable with them weighing in on how we revise the code.
Right, okay.
Because I think that's really where the rubber meets the road, in my opinion.
To move things forward, I will move to do this reimbursement back to the date of purchase.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
Commissioner Mike Mitchell,
Aye.
Commissioner Rocky Smith,
Aye.
and Mayor Denise McGriff.
No.
Motion passes.
All right, we're going to move on to the next item, which is number 10. We have 10A, street tree replacement. And this is what?
Sorry.
Oh,
9B.
sorry. I have both agendas.
They both, yep.
I have my old agenda and my new agenda, sorry. I updated them and then I didn't put them in the binder. So, hang on just a second. Okay, we have 9B, sidewalk repair replacement permit reimbursement discussion.
Okay, thank you. So at our last meeting, back at September 17th, the city commission had requested some additional information. So this is related to sidewalk repairs. The commission decided that moving forward throughout the entire city, sidewalk right-of-way permits, we will not be charging the fee for 6 months. Then the question became, should we, for folks who have already come in and paid the permit fee and completed the work or in the process of completing the work, should they be reimbursed? And if they should, how far should we go back? So staff went back and in the staff report in the background, started to look at when we started to see, there were individual complaints that came in before a large number came in all at the same time. So we tried to go back to what we thought was kind of the beginning of the sidewalk code enforcement complaints in the McLaughlin neighborhood. And so what you see here is back to the October 2023 date. And so then we went and pulled citywide, how many permits are there? Because that was what we were asked to do. We weren't going to focus on one particular neighborhood or one event. So what you see here is the 170 permits issued, and then the revenue created from those permits that were submitted. So that's kind of what we believe to be the farthest look back to go to, if that makes sense. The other component, we believe, obviously, some folks hired contractors. Contractors came in, paid for the permit. We know who the permit was pulled for, which property. If the commission does decide to reimburse back to a certain date, we would be contacting directly with the property owner. We would not be going back through the contractor for any reimbursement that would be applicable. There would be some paperwork associated with that we're required to collect in order to provide the reimbursement. But so those were kind of the two, just from an administrative standpoint, how do we deal with reimbursing people at this point, especially when they're not the one who paid for it as a property owner, or if they came in under a group permit. We think we've addressed that. And then really it's a question for the commission of, do you want to reimburse on a look back period? And if so, how far would you like to look back?
So the 170 that you mentioned, that goes back to the beginning of the street tree reimbursement?
No, this is when we believe that we started to receive complaints in the McLaughlin neighborhood.
In October of 2023?
Correct.
I thought this flared up this summer, in May.
When the mass,
There was a couple single.
there were there were a couple singles, a onesie, a twosie, and then all of a sudden there was a multiple turned in at one time. And that's when it came to the attention of the commission.
Yeah, they were dribbling in McLaughlin. But same issue. I thought you did a really good job the staff did a really good job on outlining this. I thought it was later also, but yeah, I'm not interested in going back to 2020. I think your comment was, when you were asking us to take this back up to reconsider, you were talking about this recent situation.
Yes.
That was my note.
Which would have been the May 23rd, which means 48 permits in that time.
Yeah.
Between then and now.
I don't have any problem with that.
I'm a little taken aback because I didn't realize it had been going on before that, other than just the normal, code enforcement finds it.
These were not that.
Yes, it's been going on. It just has been escalating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It was not code enforcement initiated.
Well, I would lean toward going back to May 23rd, 2025.
I'll support that.
So moved.
I'll second.
Commissioner Mike Mitchell.
Aye.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Aye.
Mayor Denise McGriff.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, now we will go to item 10A. As I stated previously, this is a street tree replacement at, in front of and near 624 and 624 7th Street and 629 6th Street, which is the Francis Ermatinger House and our historic fire station, both historic properties.
Correct. So we've been doing some sidewalk repairs in the area. The Ermatinger House, we were able to complete those sidewalk repairs without any issues with the trees once we had an arborist look at them, and when we had the concrete out and could see the root structure, we were confident that we could go back and not remove the trees at Ermatinger House. So really this is just an update because of the visibility of the trees. This is for the trees in front of the fire station on 7th, right across from the library. If you've been through there, that sidewalk's been popped in a couple places. With the consultant, consulting with the arborist, because of the size of the roots, the location of it, the soil type there, they do not believe that we could safely cut the roots in a way to get the sidewalk back in there that wouldn't lead to jeopardizing the health or safety of that tree, of those trees. So this is really just letting the commission know, just because it's obviously a heavy traveled corridor. And those trees, when they come out to fix the sidewalk there, we just want to make you aware of that so you weren't surprised. Be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I will just say for the record that I went out and physically walked the tree wells, because what in the pictures looked like a rock was actually a root. So seeing it close up was much better than looking at the pictures. And I can see this specific situation. I also discussed with staff the 2 cypress. I don't know why those 2 things were planted next to the fire station building, but yeah, they have to go. I mean, it's the structural integrity of the building that is paramount, and cypress trees should not be there. And they're not even, I think they're like mutant cypress trees, because they generally aren't supposed to grow that big, but they are over 7 feet tall adjacent to the building, and they need to go. So I have no problem with that. I support the staff recommendation. As usual, I'd like to see us get as large of an established tree as we possibly can to replace, because those were all planted probably when we first did the 7th Street corridor project. So it's been a number of years, and they do provide a substantial amount of shade and cooling of the asphalt and the pavement there. So I support the recommendation, and I'm glad I did go over and look at it, because seeing was believing. And I'm there all the time, but you don't see under the tree grates or under the sidewalk. But there's some root situations there that were, like I said, if you looked at it, it looked like a piece of basalt, but it was not. So do you just need a concurrence with this?
I don't need anything. It was more of just informational.
Okay, so I would like to see a little bit bigger tree, not the 2-inch ones, because that's a heavily used corridor, and I can just see people snapping those off. All right.
The next issue on our November work session is November 11th, which is Veterans Day.
Yes.
So there was, in discussion was, would the commission be interested in having the work session on Wednesday, November 12th? Or just cancel, just not have a work session in November?
I'd like to suggest to my fellow commissioners that we meet on the 12th so that we don't get behind on our work session items, and we can continue to move things forward. That'll be the only thing we have on the agenda. Obviously, we can't meet on the 12th, I mean the 11th.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. That's all that I had tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Any updates by the commission?
No. Okay.
Anything?
No, I don't.
Yeah, so the only thing I have is that with all the news going on in the Portland metro area about different things happening to our state, I just wanted to to discuss, actually to read this statement that was initially prepared by Mayor Keith Wilson, but amended by the metropolitan mayors. So whereas the undersigned mayors of Oregon believe in and are committed to the Constitution of the United States of America, the rule of law and protection of all persons' civil rights, and whereas effective public safety is rooted in violence prevention, community leadership, equity, economic opportunity, mental health support, community policing, civil and human rights, and whereas if deployed without consent of the local elected representatives and the general public, the militarization of immigration enforcement interferes with community self-determination and risks fomenting and escalating confrontations with those exercising constitutional right of self-expression. And whereas federal standards for the use of force, deployment of chemical munitions, and the identification of officers, agents, accountability for misconduct, engagement with the public are inferior and insufficient to the standards of regional law enforcement professionals. And whereas militarized federal agents, when deployed without legitimacy of public support, have historically undermined the capacity, effectiveness, community relations of local law enforcement, inflamed protest, inflicted reputational, economic, and physical damage to our community. And whereas persons of color, veterans, the unsheltered, formerly incarcerated, those experiencing poverty, immigrant communities, and other historically marginalized groups have and will suffer the most under the threat of federal militarization. And whereas regional cities have joined or provided amicus briefs for the legal actions challenging federal overreach, such as Newsom versus Trump, San Francisco versus Trump, King County versus Turner, National TPS Alliance versus Nome, State of Washington versus Trump, Trump versus Casa, and other active litigation. And whereas the City of Portland and City of Oregon City and other surrounding regions are critical regional job markets and a jewel of economic vibrancy with domestic product of over 200 billion annually. And whereas the mayors of the City of Portland, City of Oregon City, and the others identified recently within the state adhere to the laws of the state of Oregon and U.S. Constitution, and we are all committed to serving residents with dignity, respect, and safety, no matter where they are born, what language they speak, their race, ethnicity, immigration status, and other employees under Oregon law, and will not enforce federal immigration laws or assist in U.S. immigration enforcement agents unless expressly required by federal law, or spend civic dollars or use civic equipment to enforce, and that's our state law. And whereas our immigrant community contributes 15% of our regional workforce, 19% of our entrepreneurs, 19% of our STEM workers, 1% of our nurses, 1% of our health aides, and spends $12.4 billion every year, including $5 billion in taxes. And whereas the leadership of Mayor Johnson of the City of Chicago stand in solidarity with his executive order denouncing attempts to deploy troops or other militarized immigration enforcement in Chicago, as well as federal law and democratic norms, reject the deployment of U.S. military forces except in disaster, invasion, extraordinary circumstances, and not for routine domestic law or civic enforcement. And that is according to our state law that we have in the state of Oregon. So with that, I don't think we have any other business, and I will adjourn the meeting.